Hello and welcome back to part 5 of this citizen-exclusive video tutorial series from BlenderCookie.com on modeling the M4 carbine. My name is Jonathan Williamson and we're going to pick up where we left off. I guess now it's actually been nearly a month, or maybe even a little more than a month, for which I do apologize for taking so long on this. But having come back, we're going to take a look at where we finished off last time, and then get started on modeling more of the body right in here. We still have a long ways to go on this. I think this series will probably be going for quite a while now, just with the amount of detail in the subject and all that. We've got a ways to go, but we're going to try and make some really good progress today. So jumping over to Blender, we can see exactly where we left off, where we basically got the whole front half of the gun mostly modeled, at least. So we're going to go in and focus on just the body here. And so to make this a little easier, first thing that I want to do is go ahead and start separating out some of our meshes. Currently, you notice that we've got one solid object for the grip, the clip, the body, the stock, etc. So I want to go ahead and separate out all of the objects such as the stock, the grip, and the clip. And we can do this real easily by just hitting Tab to go into edit mode. And then let's just hover our mouse over and select that. We'll go ahead and hit P and separate the selection for the clip. Let's go in, and I believe this is still one whole piece, which it is. So what we want to do is let's just zoom in here, and you'll notice that I'm in face mode right now, which you can either switch right down here with these buttons, or you can hit Control Tab to switch to face mode. And I'm going to Alt right click on the edge between these two faces here. So I just Alt right click, and that'll select that entire loop. And then I can go ahead and zoom out a little bit just so I can see the rest of the stock. Hit Z to switch into wireframe mode, and then hit B, and I'll just left click and drag across all of the stock. And then I can go ahead and hit P and separate by selection. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with the clip, or with the grip. Well, actually the grip is already separated out, so we can go ahead and just select it and hit P and separate the selection. And now we're ready to go ahead and work on the body. We've got it separated out, and so what we want to do is first just take a look at everything. Easy way to do that is just hit 2 to switch to layer 2 so we can just hide all of our mesh objects. And let's just take a look and see how we need to set up our mesh. Even though it's not very clear in this image here, we can see this more clearly. I'll just maximize my view here. We can see this more clearly in some of the other references that I've added, so I encourage you to look at those. I've got 2 of them pulled up on my other monitor, just so I can really see what I'm doing. But we want to separate out this mesh, or this piece right here, starting right in here. It's going to go through here, and then follows this line, and is a separate piece. And then there's a small tab right here, such that the whole body can basically rotate up like this, off of this piece. And then we've also got the, let's see, that's actually pretty much it in terms of the different pieces. So let's go and do that first. So we'll first just hit 1 to go back to layer 1, or choose it down here. And what I want to do is hit Tab to go into edit mode, and let's just separate out this piece. So looking at this, we can see that it'll separate pretty well if we want to go right down through here. And so let's select this piece here, and we're just going to hide it, get it out of the way, and let's just select all of this right in here, and we're going to just hit P and separate the selection. So we're going to go ahead and make those separate as well. Then let's go and hit Alt H to unhide this, and let's hit Control R, and well, let's see. Actually, no, we don't actually want to separate those, so I'm going to go ahead and join this again. Control J, and then let's select everything. So again, we go into object mode, select both of them, hit Control J to join them, then we'll hit Tab to go back in edit mode, hit W, and remove doubles. So instead, what I want to do is first on this circular piece here, basically the barrel piece, let's go ahead and make some adjustments. First by adding in another loop right here. So we'll hit Control R, add in a loop cut, left click, and then slide it down, and let's just slide it right to there, right in line with these vertices here. Also with the edge of where the seam is going to be. And then something else that we need to do is go ahead and adjust the size of this clip or this circle piece. So you'll notice that in our reference, you can't see it very clearly here, but this piece right in here, it goes up and then gets smaller and basically is inset to be just a little bit wider than the entire body piece. So what I want to do is let's hit Control, or let's actually go into face mode, Control Tab, Alt right click on this section here, and then we're going to go ahead and hit E to extrude, which will extend a new piece from here, and then I'm going to right click such that I have a separate piece, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit S to scale it down, and then Shift X to exclude scaling along the x-axis, so that way it stays the exact same length. And what I want to do is I want to scale it down to just a little bit wider than the entire piece here. So I'm going to scale down to about here. So hit S, Shift X, and let's hit comma to make sure we're scaling towards the individual center. S, Shift X, scale it down, and rotate around to the side where I can see it a little more clearly. Let's take it down to about right there. Looks to be pretty close to accurate for what I'm looking for. Okay, there we go. So there I can see it's going to be a little bit more accurate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this side. And as we have this face loop here, we'll Alt right click on this edge that we've added, and we'll just hit X and delete faces. Be sure not to delete vertices. We're going to delete just the faces. Excuse me while I adjust my mic here. There we go. Okay, and that will set that up nicely. So now let's go ahead and work on this curve piece right here. So I'm going to hit Control Tab and go into vertex mode. And what we want to do is to bring this curve over. So let's just first select the body, and we're going to hit H to hide it. And let's work with just this circle piece first. So let's grab these vertices. We'll hit G and X, pull them over about like that. We'll rotate around with our middle mouse button so we can see it. And let's hit B and select, just box select these center vertices here. And we'll go ahead and pull them over a little bit more about like that. So now if we hit Alt H, we can start to see how that's going to work. And looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and scale these out just a little bit more. And what I'm going to do, let me just select this side here. Let's see. Actually, I think we'll just go ahead and leave that just like it is. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that for the time being. So let's go ahead and work on the body just a little bit more. We just need to do this kind of piece by piece, just a little bit at a time to get a better idea of what we're looking at. And first thing I want to do is just focus on this area down here. Let's go and add in, say, 2 edge loops, which will allow us to better recreate this curve here. So we'll just select this area, pull this across, select this area, pull it up, and that ought to be good. Move over here, and we can pull these over a bit, just like that. Pull those over. And that will recreate that curve very nicely. We can go ahead and add in another loop right across here. We'll just right click, and then we can hit S and Y to scale it along the Y axis to get a nice curve around there. That'll work really well. Let's see. On this next area, we're going to start merging some of these pieces together, such as these here. We won't actually keep these as separate meshes because we want to make sure that they all fit together very nicely. And so the first thing that I might do is, looking at this, let's go ahead and start merging these edges with these edges. So the first thing is let's hit Control R, add in a new edge loop right along this, and we'll first just right click, and then we need to go ahead and straighten it out. So let's hit S, X, and 0, which will straighten it out perfectly. And then we want to go ahead and snap it to this edge, because what we're going to do is merge these faces right here. So this becomes one continuous surface. So let's go and hit Control Shift Tab, switch into our vertex snapping, and then hit G, X, and then just hold down Control, and it'll snap right to that vertex under your mouse, at which point you can just left click. We can go ahead and let's add in, well, we've already got a loop right there, so I'm going to go ahead and just, well, we'll go ahead, let's Go into face mode. Let's select this face. Actually, we're going to select all these faces right here, and we'll deselect this face, and then let's go ahead and just hit X and delete faces. Hit Control Tab to go to vertex mode. And what I want to do is we're going to select these two edges, hit E, and we actually want to select these on both sides. Hit E to extrude, hit X, and then Control and snap right to that vertex. Select everything, W, and remove doubles. And then what I'll do is we need to actually, I'm going to undo that. And the reason being is we first want to add in another edge loop right here, bring it over just like this, because in order to get this deformation to work nicely, we need to have a face loop going all the way down through here and extending around this. And so the way that we'll do that is now we'll select these edges right here, and we don't want those ones. And we'll hit E, X, or hold down Control, snap right to that one there, E to extrude, snap to that one there. And then we're going to deselect everything with A, select just the bottom vertices, hit G and X, snap to right there. And then we'll select everything, W, and remove doubles. So that way we're maintaining our edge flow around those vertices there. We can go ahead and delete these interior vertices. Although before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add in another edge loop right through here, to which I will, well actually no, that's completely unnecessary. And in fact, I'm just going to go in, let's hit Shift H while in object mode to hide everything else so we can focus on just this. And let's just Alt right click on that edge, Alt Shift right click on that edge, and let's just hit X and delete vertices. And I do apologize for my Skype there. We'll switch my notification off to Do Not Disturb so that Mr. Wes Burke cannot talk to me anymore. And we're going to, now we want to start merging some of these together. So the way that we're going to do that is we want to add in another edge loop right through here that will perfectly line up with this surface. And this is actually pretty easy to do. What we can do is let's hit Control R, add in a new edge loop there, and we'll get it pretty close to this edge right here. But then what we're going to do, let's hit Control Shift Tab to switch back to edge mode, or to switch to edge mode, and then we're going to hit Control E, edge slide, and then just hold down Control, and well actually I guess edge snapping does not work along that. So instead, what we will do is, let's see, let's just go ahead and hit Control E, edge slide, and just slide down until it perfectly lines up right about there. You can hold down Shift to get it real close and accurate, and that ought to be plenty close, I would think. And so now we can go ahead and select these two vertices here, hit X and delete vertices, and then hit Control Tab. Let's select these faces here. Well, actually, let's go and add in another edge loop. We'll bring it right down to there. Switch into vertex snapping and Control Tab to switch to vertex select mode. Hit G, Z, and snap right up to that. And that will start setting up the process to go ahead and start merging these. So the next step is we need to go ahead and select this. Let's bring it right over along by hit G, X, and hold down Control, snap right to that vertex. And then what we can do is, if we select everything, W, and remove doubles, we can see that it removed one vertex right there, so it removed perfectly. And we can now go ahead and just select these faces here, and we'll grab the other side as well. We're going to have some mirroring that we'll need to do in order to get this recreated on both sides accurately, but we can work on mostly just one side for the time being. And we'll go ahead and just delete these ones as well. X and delete faces. And let's see, let's go ahead and hit Control Tab, switch back to vertex mode, and we're just going to select these edges here and these ones here. We're going to hit E to extrude, take them down, bring them right down to the edge. Now we can go ahead and switch into edge snap mode, hit G, Z, and snap right to that edge. So it locks it down along the Z axis and then just snaps right to that edge to bring it down perfectly. And go ahead and remove this edge here and this edge here. We'll be sure to save our file. So you can kind of see how working on the body here, we kind of have some different options that we can do in terms of how we want to model it. With all the different intersections and such, all the different pieces, you could model them with all different pieces and just have them intersecting. But since this is a tutorial and since we're looking at really hard surface modeling, I'm trying to really look at some of the nitty-gritty details of how you actually make this into primarily one solid mesh. And so some of these details, will definitely be, I know some of it may be a little bit hard to follow due to the amount of detail and such, but I hope that you're able to follow along with me and don't get lost at any point. But if you do feel free to shoot me any specific questions and such, and I'll definitely get back to you on them. Having brought down this edge though, we can go ahead and work towards merging it. And so what we'll do is let's hit Control R, we'll add in a loop right here, and you notice it's immediately in the center, so let's just right click. But something that we'll need to do, since we're adding in a loop here, and we'll be adding in a subdivision surface modifier later on, we need to ensure that this will actually maintain a perfect circle. And so the way we can do this is either moving it out like this, at which point these edges don't line up, or we can move it up, and that will at least help maintain the effect that it looks like a perfect circle. So we'll just move that up, and it'll probably be okay if it's not exactly accurate on this, since it's only part of the circle that's showing, but we'll be able to adjust that as we go if needed. So now I can just go ahead and snap this right up. We'll go back to vertex snap it up like that. And if we select everything, W, and remove doubles, well, I guess it didn't actually remove anything at this point, but that's okay. We will work with that. I'm going to go ahead and add in one edge loop first, which we will then hit S, X, and 0, and then we're going to add in another one, which will now already be perfectly straight. So now we'll just hit G and X, hold down Control, snap to there, select the other one with Alt right click, G, X, snap to there, and that will merge those perfectly. And so now we can go ahead and we can see we've got some extra edges in here, to which we can just select. And we're going to just select up to there, and then we'll hit X and delete vertices. And this will actually be a really good time to go ahead and add in our mirror modifier. And we'll go ahead and use a mirror modifier for the majority of the body work here. And then once we get to doing the asymmetrical bits, we will remove the mirror modifier or apply it and then work with it further. So what I want to do is we need to work on each one of these pieces and add in a loop cut directly down the center. We can do this one here by just Control R, left click, and then immediately right click to leave it in the center. And then what we'll do just to help double check that we have all the objects selected, or we'll add in a loop cut right there, a loop cut right there, and that looks like we've got everything except the trigger here and there. And okay, that looks good. So we'll go into top view, deselect everything, and then hit B and left click and drag all the way up to everything except the middle. And then we'll hit X and delete vertices. And then we can double check that everything is still intact. It looks good. So we can quickly add in a mirror modifier. So we'll choose mirror, choose on clipping and mirror along the y-axis and not the x-axis, and that will give us a perfectly mirrored mesh, thus making this part of the process much easier to work with. So let's go ahead and select everything and W, remove doubles to see if we have any. In this case, we had these two right in here that were lined up perfectly. That one is lined up. This one is not quite lined up, so let's take a look at what we need to do here. We'll just go right in on the side, and what I'll do is let's just hit G, Z, or okay, it looks like it's not quite lined up horizontally along the x-axis, or yes it is. Okay, I'm just selecting each vertex along this plane and then hitting G, holding down Control, snapping right to it. Now we should be able to remove those. There we go, remove perfectly. We'll add in another loop cut right through here, but we first need to hit S, X, and 0, and then we can hit G, X, hold down Control, snap right to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, and again the top one did not remove, so we'll just snap it right there and bring that together perfectly like so. Okay, and now I actually realized something just now, in that something is not correct here, and that is in fact this face right in here, and it's too far out. This should actually go back a little further, so we're going to hit X and delete faces, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to grab this edge right in here, we'll deselect those ones there, and we're going to hit G, Y, and snap right back to those. Then we can go ahead and hit, we'll deselect these two right in here just for the time being, then we'll hit E, Z, and snap right down to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, and that removes them perfectly. And so this way we've got more of the circular barrel shape showing on the top side than the bottom side. Okay, let's go ahead and start bringing this shape down. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to select this in here. We're going to hit, going over to the side, let's just hit E to extrude, and we're going to hit G and then Shift X, and that will exclude the X-axis and then just snap right to that vertex, and that just gives us a good point to snap to such that we can then just extrude these or fill that face right there. And then what I want to do on these as well is, one, this face needs to go ahead and, well, let's see, actually, we can probably just leave those like they are for the time being, although we're going to bring this down about like that. Actually, maybe we'll just go ahead and bring these down. Let's see. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this loop, I'm going to deselect that vertex, I'm going to hit Control E, edge slide, and bring them up until this is pretty much perfectly straight right here. Because then I can go ahead and grab this vertex, hit G, X, pull it back, and then I already did the same thing right there, and that will make this perfectly flat. Then I can do the same thing with these ones here. I'll just select these, then deselect all these in here by hitting B and then middle click and dragging. And then what I'll do is just hit Control E, edge slide, and take it up until this edge right here is perfectly straight. And that will be close enough right there. And this way, this just stays perfectly nice and level. Okay, and now what I'll do is I'm going to grab this section here, and I want to let's actually, I want to go ahead and we're going to deselect this vertex, and then we're just going to hit X and delete vertices on this. And the reason being is I actually want to blend this out right here to nothing. And so what I'll do is I'm going to select these, Control E and edge slide. And, oh, I guess I can't edge slide these, except I could go ahead and edge slide these. So I'll hit Control E, edge slide. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down. Well, let's see. Looking at this, apologies for the just kind of exploring this, but I want to get something that is going to work a bit better. So looking at my reference, this shape in here actually needs to come in, and so we're going to select these and these, deselect these, and we will then, let's see, I guess this depends entirely on the specific reference that we're using. So we're going to go ahead and hit X and delete these faces for the time being. We'll work on that on the next piece. So I want to, this is going to come straight down like this. So we're going to grab this right here. We're going to pull this down, switch into side view, pull it over along the y-axis until it lines up nicely there. And we'll pull this along the x, and I'm going to grab these three vertices, hit E to extrude, take it straight along the x-axis, right to there. Now I'm going to go and hit S, X, and 0, and then snap them back to there. And this will then form this ridge right here that you're seeing. So then what we need to do is we'll just grab these, and we're going to pull them in along the y-axis about like that, such that it's basically blending out to nothing. And then what we'll do is let's just go ahead and we're going to cheat for just a second, and I'm going to grab this whole section right here, except for this, and I'm just going to hit G, Y, and snap right to that. And this will allow me to blend these out perfectly, I believe. And so then I can just go ahead and take that. So what we'll do is let's add in another loop right through here, which then we will left click and then hit G, Z, and snap right to that vertex so that we can bring this all the way along. And in fact, we'll then go ahead and lower it just a little bit more. So then we'll go ahead and bring this back. We'll edge slide this back, get a little bit more thickness in there. So then we can pull this down to be about the same. I'm going to go ahead and delete those vertices there and that vertex there. And we're just going to bring those down to there. Let's see, these ought to be on the same level, so at S, Z, and 0. Then we can bring that forward to line up just like that. We'll select these. And then we'll select this one, G, Z, snap to there, and then bring that one out. Go into edge snapping, G, X, and snap right to that edge, like that. Okay, and then what we can do, we'll grab these three vertices, or these two, because this one's already snapped, and we'll snap them along the y-axis to right there. And then we'll go ahead and bring these two vertices, snap them along the x-axis to there, delete this vertex, and select everything, W, and remove doubles. So we remove 2. That one's good. This one needs an edge right in here. This will create a face right there. And this one merged perfectly. We can go ahead and take this up, just for the time being at least, to right there. And then we are ready to... we need to go ahead and add in a loop for here. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and separate these out. So let's add in another loop right through here. And then we'll select this loop, or actually we'll hit Control Tab, go into face mode. Let's select this face loop, and we're going to hit X and delete faces. So now we have 2 separate pieces that will allow us to work more accurately with these. Okay, so that was a long process getting all those to work, but now that we have it, we should be good to go. And we can make a little bit more progress a little bit more quickly here. So with that done, what I want to do is first, let's go ahead and just so we can start seeing this, let's add in a subdivision surface modifier, and we'll increase the resolution to 2, optimal display, and let's go ahead and start creasing things up to get a much better idea of how each of them are looking. So we'll add in a crease right through to there. We'll add in a crease right through to there. Select everything, W, and shade smooth. On the inside of the trigger guard, let's add in a crease right through here. We'll do another one on the outside, about like that. Then the bottom edge, we want to actually go ahead and select these right in here, and we're going to hit Y to split them, and then let's go ahead and bring them in towards the Y-axis about like that. We'll also go ahead and scale them along the X-axis just a bit, because this is actually going to be a hinged piece right in here. Each one of these sides, let's hit S, X, and 0. We'll do this on both sides. Again, that's just Alt-right click to select the edge loop. Maybe go ahead and scale those up just a bit more. We'll go ahead and scale that to 0 along the X-axis and that one to 0 along the X-axis. We can grab these top ridges here, pull them up. Let's go ahead and select the bottoms like this and like this, and we're going to hit E to extrude, take them down about the same distance that we have here, which will be able to round them off. Then we can go ahead and bring that in, or let's see, we won't worry about that just yet. Let's go ahead and select this loop. First we'll delete that vertex that got added, select this loop, deselect those. Let's extrude out an increment there to make that nice and sharp. We'll do the same thing over here. And notice that we have some extra vertices in there that got added as well. We'll remove those. And then let's just be sure to remove those faces and those faces, because then we can go ahead and extrude each one of these. Select both of them, hit E to extrude, right click, then S, X, scale in just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the top vertices on each one of these. Hit E to extrude, Z, snap to that vertex. Do the same thing again, and one last time. And then we'll select everything, W, and remove doubles. We'll remove those, and then we can go ahead and round these out a little bit by grabbing each of these. Hit S, X, move them in just a little bit, and that will just round those off. We can go ahead and pull these edges up to ensure that we have a nice continuous edge right through here too if we wanted. Okay, and then just to make sure this is nice and consistent, we'll add in another edge right there and another edge right there. To make it really consistent, we can go ahead and snap those along their corresponding axis just like that. And that looks perfect. Let's go ahead and add in, well, we won't worry about the small details there just yet. Let's see, these are actually going to merge together. And so what I want to do is let's add in a loop right here, which will bring in along the X-axis to snap to that vertex. And we're going to go ahead and delete. Well, let's actually do the same thing right here. We'll bring this in, snap right to that vertex, and then we can delete these two vertices and begin looking at merging these. So we'll go ahead and select these vertices or these edges like this, and we're going to pull them in along the X-axis there. Actually, we'll pull them. Let's select all of this just like that, and we're just going to pull it in a little bit more, about like that, and then snap right to it. Select everything, Control N to remove that nasty normal there. We can go ahead and hit X, delete that vertex, and we'll add in another loop right along here. So we'll be able to merge these together, and we'll hit S, Y, and 0 to make sure it's perfectly flat. We'll snap it to right there. And then let's go ahead and grab these vertices right in here, and that will be it. We'll snap them out along the X-axis to right there. Sometimes you need to move it twice to get it to line up perfectly. We can go ahead and select these for the clip area, just like that. And then what we'll do is let's just snap this down right here. There we go. So you just move it down and then hold down Control to snap it. We can go ahead and delete this vertex. Let's add in Or actually, let's just grab this edge here, and we're going to hit V, which will rip it apart. And normally it rips in the opposite direction, so sometimes you can just kind of flip it, and then you may just have to reselect your vertices. And then we're just going to hit G, Z, snap right up to there. And then along the x-axis, we can snap to there as well. And that will snap that perfectly. Then we can go ahead and grab this vertex, snap to there, delete that one there, select everything, W, and remove doubles. You can see we're going to need to add in another edge loop right through there. So we'll do that. And then we'll also scale it to 0 along the y-axis. Let's go ahead and add in another edge loop right down like this. Ensure that that stays nice and sharp. We'll save our file. And let's add in another loop right in the center here. Right about like that. To which then we can snap these vertices to. Just like that. There we go. And select everything, W, remove doubles. We have an extra loop right down through here, so we'll add another one and then snap it along the y-axis. Remove doubles. And we're getting really close to having this good. So let's see, we can probably just delete this edge loop and be fine. Yeah, that'll be just fine. Some of the metal on this anyway, since it's casted, it doesn't have perfectly sharp surfaces, and so it's good, in fact, if we don't have them be perfectly sharp. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm also going to split that or rip that up with the V, and then I can snap that back down with extrude. And what that does then is gives me this loop right here, or this single face that I can then fill with F, just like that. And so now I have a very nicely modeled section right in there. That works perfectly. And so then I just need to go ahead and fill in this remaining area. I'll go ahead and first fill in the major face, just like this. So I'm selecting all the major faces there. And then I can first add an edge loop right here, and then snap it along the y-axis like that. Select everything, W, and remove doubles. Then I'll add in a edge loop down like this. And just hit then left click and then hit G, Z, snap to right there, remove that. Then what I'll do is add in another edge loop right through here, and I'm just going to position it right about in the center, and then from the front view, I'm going to go ahead and just move this in to soften up that curve. Then I'll grab these two vertices, hit Control E, edge slide right, well, I'll put that one down there, and then I'll grab this vertex, and I'll just snap right to there, W, or select everything, W, remove doubles. Then I can go and add in two edge loops right like this. Deselect everything with A, Alt right click, G, or let's see, this is not, let's see, is this perfectly straight? Yes, it is. So I'll just hit G, Z, snap to there. Do the same thing with this one. Select everything, W, remove doubles. And so that gives me one beautiful solid mesh just like that. So then last thing that I'll do, I'll go and add in another edge loop right through here. Snap it along the x-axis to there. Then I can select these three vertices, hit E to extrude, immediately hit X to snap to the x-axis, hold down Control, snap to there, W, remove doubles. I can go ahead and select this edge loop, hit G, X, snap to that vertex. We'll do the same thing with that one. And then I can go ahead and select these edges again, extrude out to each one of these points, and select everything, W, remove doubles. Then I'll add in one more edge loop, just like that, which I could go ahead and then scale these out along the x-axis and bring them back out just to smooth out this surface a little bit. And then I'll snap this vertex to there, remove doubles, and I can see that these ones here have not been removed properly. And looking at this, I can see the issue lies in these ones here. And so I'm going to select these. In fact, actually, it would seem that all of these are not perfectly flat, so I'll select them, hit S, Z, and 0. Scale them down perfectly like so. And then I can select everything, W, remove doubles. That way they remove perfectly. I can go ahead and add in another edge loop right here, snap along the y-axis there, and then another one, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles. And that will work just fine. Then I could go ahead and I'll select this edge loop. I'll deselect all of this through to there. And then I can go ahead and hit G, Y, snap to there. Actually, I'll go ahead and first scale to 0 along the Y, then snap to there. And then I'll do the same thing with this edge loop. I'll scale to 0 along the Y, and then just bring it in. And what that does, it just evens out my mesh to keep it nicely consistent. Maybe I'll just bring these out just a little bit, allow them to sharpen up this edge. Okay, so you can see it's quickly forming a really nice even mesh. I want to go ahead and fill in, let's go ahead and bring in these vertices. We may change this later down the road with how the grip works, but for the time being, we'll just snap those in just like that. Okay, so that works really nicely, looks really good. And maybe on this section here, let's see. Let's go ahead and hit Control E and edge slide these out. Make that a little bit softer right in there. It doesn't need to be perfectly sharp, because remember this is casted. And we could go ahead and actually bring out these vertices as well along the x-axis, about like that. And that will again give it that little bit more of a casted look rather than the perfectly hard surface. But I do want to go ahead and add in an extra edge loop right down here, which will scale to 0 along the z-axis just to ensure this is perfectly flat, because it should be pretty nice and sharp since the grip will merge in right there. Let's go ahead and finish off this area right up here. First, I want to delete these vertices in here. Ensure that they are not a problem. And save our file. Let's go and add in an edge loop right down like this, make that nice and sharp. Start to show some of the work that we're putting into it isn't for nothing. We'll add in an edge loop right down like that, and you can immediately start to see things coming together a little bit more. This top piece, we're going to go ahead and remove this section here, just the faces, hit X and delete faces, because that is going to be done with the same piece that is over the barrel actually. Let's also add in, let's see, this actually needs to come back all the way to here. So let's go ahead and we'll delete that face there. Let's go and select this, hit E to extrude, snap right to there, select everything, W, remove doubles, then we'll just delete this vertex right in there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and bring, let me think how to do this. We're going to go ahead and delete these vertices there because it's just not so much causing us a problem, but causing us a distraction. Same thing, we'll delete that vertex. We'll go and add in another loop right through here, which will scale to 0 along the X, make sure it's nice and straight. We'll add in another edge loop right here. Bring that in. Again, we'll scale to 0 along the X, make that nice and sharp. And you can see how our mesh is really starting to come together with these nice, the mixture of the kind of casted pieces and the sharp pieces. I think we'll bring this edge loop up just a little bit. Allow us to get a little bit more of the softer edge in there. Maybe bring these in along the y-axis. We'll maybe add in another loop right there. Even though that won't necessarily be seen, it's partially just as someone that models as their specialty. I'm very, very picky with my mesh, and so sometimes things that aren't necessarily problems, I like to make problems. And so, you know, things like edges lining up where they can, I like to make them perfectly nice and straight. Same thing here. You know, this could go ahead and be perfectly straight. So I'll scale it to 0. and then snap in to right there. These ones will be pretty good, but you notice I like straight lines, and so that's really partially just me being picky. In terms of the model, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, at least in terms of the final look of the model. And let's see, we'll go ahead and what we can do is let's go ahead and select these vertices in here, and we'll just hit X and delete the vertices, and that way we can go ahead and remove these completely unnecessary edge loops here. Since it's not a continuous surface, we don't need them on both sides of the model. There we are. Although I will go and add in one more right there, and then I'll slide this one back just a little to help keep that nice rounded form. And then, yeah, that'll be good. And then, okay, there's a small piece right here where this comes down. We're actually going to bring this down a little bit more, but this kind of comes in with a small inset. And so what I'm going to do is first I'm going to bring both pieces down just a bit, just like this. Give a little more depth to this, make it a little bit more accurate, I think, which means we'll bring that edge back in just a little bit there. I will go ahead and add in another edge loop right through to that to make that nice and sharp. And then I want to add in another edge loop through there as well. And what that does is keeps this nice and even and gives us some of the definition there, because rather than being a soft form, that's actually a very hard form. And let's see. Oh, actually, okay, so it's not that there is a small piece missing, it's the fact that this area right in here is actually wider. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to select this whole area here and this whole area right. Actually, first we need to do one more thing, and that is on this piece. This right here is actually a extruded form that it's kind of circular, and that's actually the hinge for the entire gun, I believe. So what I'm going to do is select this top area. I'm going to snap it back to right there, deselect that one, snap that one perfectly, make sure they're nice and even. Then we're going to actually go ahead and pull this back even further. In fact, we'll actually snap back to right about there. Then we're going to select this, and we're going to actually select this whole area. We're going to hit E to extrude, pull it out, and then we'll select these two, hit S, Z, scale them up, these two, scale them up, and that way I keep my nice perfect edge flow right around that. And then what I'll do is I'm also going to go ahead, select this along with the accompanying edge loop all the way back, and I'm going to pull it down just a bit, about like that. And actually, no, in fact, I want to pull it up something like that. And then I might go ahead and lower these two a little bit, which means I need to adjust these just the tiniest bit, about like that. And now we need to do one more thing. Well, actually, let's first focus on this area. Let's finish this. We'll pull this up a bit more, and then I'm going to pull this back just a little bit. We'll also go ahead and take that up, and we will scale these up. And then let's go ahead and just select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, add in a cube. We're going to scale that cube way down about like that. Actually, no, we're not going to use a cube because we want this perfectly circular. And even though with subsurf, a cube looks circular, it's not completely actually. So we'll first select a circle. We're going to hit F6, which will bring up our operator panel. We're going to change this down to 6 vertices, which will be plenty. we'll take the radius way down to about something like that. We're going to go ahead and align to our view, and then we can go ahead and exit out of that. By just hovering over it, we're going to go ahead and rotate this just a little bit. I'm just going to rotate it 15 degrees, which will make the sides perfectly straight. And again, that's just a pet peeve of mine, just me being particular. And then we're going to go ahead and let's take this in just a little bit along the y-axis, hit E to extrude, take it out along the y-axis a bit, extrude it in again and again, and then we'll go ahead and hit Alt F and Alt J, which will fill it, and then merge the faces, although you'll notice that it didn't merge into two even faces, so I'm going to hit Control Z and undo that, and then we'll select these four, hit F, and these four, hit F, select everything, W, and Shade Smooth. And that will give us that. I'm going to save everything, and we're just about done for the day. I don't want to go over an hour, but I'm going to do one more thing. First, I'm going to select this. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit more, then I'm going to E to extrude, take it up a bit more to get a nice edge right there. And then this whole face actually, minus all of this in here, and all of this, and all of this. And we'll go ahead and actually deselect all the inside edges, and this edge here. This all needs to extrude out, so hit E to extrude, take it out along the y-axis. We'll take it out just about that far, I think. Actually, I'm going to undo that. We're going to select these ones as well and just see if this works okay. Hit E to extrude, and yeah, that'll actually work perfectly. We'll take that out, and then we can go ahead and just delete these vertices and keep that ridge perfectly like that. Okay, there we go. And I need to undo that actually, because we don't want that edge right there, or that vertex. So now we can take that out about like that, delete these two vertices, go ahead and select this, pull it out along the y-axis to about right there. That gives us our extra depth in here. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm just going to select these edges, pull them up like that to get that nice and sharp. Now, I don't really like the way that that is formed right now, so I'll probably, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. I'm going to select this. I'm going to hit V to rip it out, hit G, X, snap back to right there. I'm going to go ahead and select this, hit X, delete the faces, and then I'm going to let's see, pull this over. I'm going to add in another edge. Actually, no, I'll just select these. Snap that down. And I'm going to, yeah, we'll just add another edge loop. We're going to fill that. We might as well get rid of that edge loop there. We don't really need it. And we can hit X, delete these faces, then fill that. And instead, what we could do is add in an edge loop here, then deselect this half, and then we'll pull this one back out to give us a rounded edge that you actually see on the bottom. Select that, G, Z, snap down to there. Then we'll go ahead and add in one more edge loop here, which then allows us to pull these in like this, get an even better shape to it, and allows us to do this, where we'll just select this one vertex, pull it down about like that, fill in that face, and we'll add in one more loop right there, fill that face. And then what we can do is some of these are completely unnecessary. So we'll say select this one. We're going to deselect it right there. Well, actually, first let's add an edge loop right through to there. And you'll know why here in just a second. We'll select this one, deselect this, hit X, and delete edge loop. We'll select this one, deselect that, and yeah, hit X, delete edge loop. And then what we can do is we'll go into face mode. Actually, first I need to merge these two vertices because I didn't go quite far enough down on that. We'll go into face mode, select these two faces, Control E, rotate edge, Control E, rotate edge, go into vertex mode, take this vertex back like this, select these, fill in a face. And so then snap this down to right there just to keep it nice and clean looking. Snap that up to where it belongs, right there. Actually, it belongs right there. And we'll snap it over. And there we go. So that way it stays nice and clean, but doesn't add in lots of extra geometry in that direction. Okay, so we're making really good progress, but I want to do just a little bit more. I know that we're running really short on time, but just to make sure this doesn't look bad in some areas, let's just add in another edge loop right there. We'll go ahead and just even it up with that one right there. We'll do the same thing here, even up with that. And then what I want to do is do one last thing, and that is this edge right here is actually going to get separated out and merge with the bottom. So I just added in that edge loop, then I'm going to select these, hit X, delete faces. I'm also going to select these, delete those vertices because I don't think those are actually going to be there. And then what I want to do is we're just going to select this edge. Actually, we'll do both these, pull them back to right. If these would snap right. There we go, pull it back to right there. And we're going to select everything, W, remove doubles, and in fact it didn't remove. So we're going to grab this vertex, snap to right there, snap this one to there, this one to there. Select everything, W, remove doubles, and why are these not removing? There we go. That way those will actually merge together there. And so then we'll need to go ahead and bring in or bring down a edge loop about like this. And we will, let's see. We actually want to select this whole edge. We're going to pull it up. And then we're going to grab these, pull them back like this. And then we are going to select these, deselect these ones here. We're going to hit E to extrude, take it down along the Z axis to about right there, should be just about right. Then we're going to select these, hit F, and fill in a face. Pull that down along the Z axis to there. And then this will allow us to actually add in a loop down like this. And we want to slide add one in right there. And this is getting close, but it's not quite there. This actually ought to be a lot smoother. I'm going to pull this up to right about there. And then we're going to pull this down about like that. We'll go ahead and select these, deselect these, pull them up, deselect that one, pull that down. And that ought to be close enough, at least for the time being, to start looking pretty good. And the last thing that I want to do is to add in one more edge loop right like this, which then we will select these faces right here, here. We'll select all of these. We're going to hit Control Tab to go into vertex mode. Deselect these ones actually. I accidentally selected those. And we're going to hit E to extrude, then right click, and then immediately we're going to deselect these vertices actually we want to undo this, and we're going to add these ones to the selection as well. We're going to hit E to extrude, immediately right click, then deselect these ones, and then we're going to hit S and Shift X, scale out just a little bit, and then we're going to hit Control Tab, go back to face mode. We're going to select these two faces, switch back into vertex mode, hit E to extrude, right click, immediately deselect these two vertices, and just hang on with me here for a second. Then we'll hit S, Shift X, scale them back out a bit more. And then what we'll do is select everything now, W, and remove doubles, which has then removed these two vertices, allowing me to then just take these, we'll maybe move them back up, and then we'll select these ones and maybe move them up a bit further. Oops, forgot those ones there. We'll move these up first, and we'll deselect that loop. Then we'll move these ones up a bit further still. And what this does, what that whole trick did, is now give me two triangles here that I can fill with a single quad, and fill these ones with a single quad there. And then maybe I'll go ahead and select this loop all the way along. Except, well, actually I'll just go ahead and deselect it right there. And then I'll just pull these down. And I'll select this one here. Go ahead and deselect that one there, Control E, and edge slide. Slide it up a bit. And that allows me to add in that extra bit of depth right there. Although this is still a bit shallow, and so I'm going to select these again. And maybe actually I will just deselect these ones. I'm going to hit S, Shift X, and scale it out quite a bit. And that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll select these vertices here, grab them, bring them up along the Z-axis, give me a little bit smoother transition there. And then I can also take these ones here, pull them down just a bit more. Okay, so that gives me a nice clean mesh. I can add in another loop right through here, sharpen that up, and I can actually see that maybe I shouldn't have brought that all the way out. I'll go ahead and bring this in here. Looks like it comes to right there. So what I'll do is I'll bring this into there. And then actually we're just going to go ahead and leave that where it's at for the time being, because really we are way out of time. But just to make sure that this looks a little bit nicer, I'm just going to extrude this along the x-axis there, there, and there. Select everything, W, remove doubles, and maybe we'll add in one more loop right up through there and right down to there. That way it just stays nice and sharp, and we're left with a pretty good result as a starting point for the next day. And maybe we'll add in one through right there. So let's go ahead and unhide everything and kind of take a look at what we've got. I'm going to also select that one and pull it back a little bit, smooth that out. Okay, so we can see that we're starting to make some more really good progress. I'll go ahead and save this, and you notice there's still lots of little details in here that we've got to work with, but we're making good progress, and definitely, hopefully, made a good start and feeling a lot better about where we are after taking such a unfortunately long break from the previous sections. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again soon.